Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So we're studying Swami Chaitanananda's book, Sri Sarada Devi, Her Divine Play. We're well along in the book. Haima, when she begins reading, will tell us the page number. And for those of us who revere the mother, this book is such a treasure. So all of us will benefit by reading the book apart from the class, because there's so much that we go by so quickly and that you'll want to spend time contemplating and concentrating on, and perhaps even taking it into meditation. Because the mother is, of course, as we understand, the mother of the universe. And the fact that she took human form was a grace for us. It was to unchain us and set us free. This is said of the Master in the hymn, in the evening hymn, Breaker of this World's Chain. But the Mother and the Master are not two different. They're one being in two forms. So Mother came to unchain us and set us free. And when we see her in that light, and when we think of her in that way, a great love and reverence for her forms, particularly when we read of her life. So with that, Ima, would you please pick up where we start this evening's reading?
Sure, Brother Shankara. Hello, everybody. Good evening. We are on page 565, last paragraph. This is part of the mother's routine and method of worship. Swami Arupananda wrote a detailed description of Holy Mother's routine.
No, we're not taking it from there, dear.
Oh,
we're taking it from, it was the mother's order. We're not starting with the subhead again.
Oh, no, we are on the page 565, but this is part of mother's routine and method of worship.
Okay.
Yes.
Pardon me for interrupting that.
No problem, Brother Shankara. Swami Arupananda wrote a detailed description of Holy Mother's routine. Holy Mother got up at 3 o'clock in the morning, looked at the image of the Master, and chanted the names of the deities. Then she bathed and changed her clothes. She took the Master's picture from his shrine bed and put it on the altar, then sat and repeated her mantra. She had a habit of getting up very early in the morning in Dakshineshwar, and she followed that habit all through her life. If she was not well, she would get up at the same time Then after bathing, she would lie down again. She said, wherever I live, I hear the sound of a flute exactly at 3 o'clock in the morning. She always maintained her routine. Her body did not know what laziness was. Later in the morning, the mother arranged the flower tray and other worship ingredients. Worship ingredients, cut fruits for the offering, and then sat for worship at 8 o'clock. Later, the women devotees helped her in the puja arrangements, but she tried to do everything by herself. Towards the end, when the mother lived in Udbodhan, the monks performed the daily worship. When she worshipped, she finished within an hour and then distributed the prasad on sal leaves. The mother did not like it if a monk lingered over the worship and chanted hymns for a long time. Once she remarked, let him finish the worship first and offer food to the master, and then let him chant as long as he likes. What is this? It is too late for people to have breakfast.
Always considerate
Considerate.
of the many rather than letting the one indulge him or herself. Always considerate of the many. So if you delayed the worship by your chanting and so on, she said, no, it becomes too late for people to have their breakfast. Always thinking of the many. Okay.
The mother always preferred to finish work quickly at the regular time. After lunch, the mother would lie down for a little rest. At that time, some women devotees would come to see her because they had to return to their homes by 4 or 4:30. At that time, while lying down, the mother would talk to them. Soon she would get up. After 3:30, she would again go for a wash and change her cloth. She would then offer refreshments to the master and repeat her mantra. Meanwhile, other women devotees came and she talked to them and answered their questions. At 5:30, when the men devotees visited her, she sat on her bed dangling her legs, her head and face covered with a chadar. During summer, one of her attendants or a known devotee would stand nearby and fan her. The men devotees would bow down to the mother one after another, and if someone asked her, "How are you?" she answered either by nodding her head or saying a word or two softly.
Let me just interrupt you for just a moment.
Sure.
Swami Prabhavananda was then Abani Ghosh. He had not yet become a brahmachari or a swami. He was going to college. He was one of the men who would come each week to visit the mother. He said at that time he had no outward indication of any spirituality. He was a dandy, that is to say, he had a nickname of the best dressed boy in all Calcutta. He was a dandy and a college student, and he actually helped the revolutionaries transport guns by letting them come and putting them in his room at night, and then sometime later others would come and get the guns. So those who had stolen them would quickly get rid of them they'd stolen them from the British, would quickly get rid of them by putting them in the Swami's room. And then the people for whom the guns were intended would later come and get them. So it was part of a system that helped the thieves and helped the people who wanted the guns. But he would go each week to touch Holy Mother's feet. And he said the reason was nothing spiritual. He said it just gave him, he would just touch her feet gently, and it would give him what he called a very pleasant, like mild electric shock. Now, of course, it says a world about the Swami that he could feel that. Well, most of us would not have been able to feel anything. It would have been there, the spiritual energy, but we wouldn't have been able to feel it. But the Swami was able to feel it. And he said that's why he went. Not out of any devotion to the mother. It just was this, he discovered somebody encouraged him to go the first time, and he found that he felt this very pleasant, very blissful, what he called mild electric shock. And so he kept going back. And of course it was the mother's will that he keep coming back. So anyway, I just thought that I'd interject about he was one of these men who would come. If you want to know more about Swami Prabhavananda, I believe Haima just read the book about him. What is the title of that book, Haima?
Which book you're talking about, Brother Shankara?
Swami Prabhavananda, the book about Swami Prabhavananda. Was it you or?
No, not me. Song of God is the one which I finished reading. Bhagavad Gita, Song of God.
No, somebody else read it. I believe it's called a title, A Light to the West.
Oh, Light to the West. I haven't read that one yet.
So,
Someone else may have read that one in the group. Yeah.
All right. Well, someone mentioned it anyway.
Okay.
So in any event,
I think Brahmadas had mentioned it sometime back.
Very good. Okay, well, that's
Thank you.
enough of an interruption, I guess.
Oh, no problem.
If you would start again if someone asked, how are you?
Okay, sure. The men devotees would bow down to the mother one after another, and if someone asked her, how are you? She answered either by nodding her head or saying a word or two softly. Then the attendant would loudly repeat what the mother had said. If someone had any specific question, that person would come last. If Holy Mother knew the person, she would speak audibly. But if Holy Mother did not know the person, or if that person was elderly, Holy Mother would speak softly and the attendant would repeat her words aloud. In the evening, after finishing japa, the mother would lie down on the floor to rest. At that time, her attendant, Mandakini, or some other woman devotee, would rub her legs with medicated oil for her rheumatic pain. After offering food to the master, the mother would eat a couple of luchis with curry and a bowl of milk as a light supper and go to bed by 11 o'clock.
So go to bed by 11 o'clock and rise at 3 o'clock. So the mother slept normally 4 hours a night. Now, is that an indication that we should do that? No, no, no. This is the mother of the universe. She is energy itself. She and the master both slept little. So we mustn't think, oh, I have to do this. You should set your own routine according to your understanding of your inner priorities. So we can be reverential about the mother's tremendous strength and energy and stamina, but it isn't something that we're called on to do for ourselves. Thank you, Haima.
Sure, Brother Shankara. Next subheading would be shrine service. Holy Mother was very particular about the master's service. She saw the master living in the picture, and she wanted the monks and devotees to perform their duties in the shrine perfectly and carefully. One evening, she said, new devotees should be given the privilege of service in the shrine room. Their new zeal makes them serve the Lord carefully. The others are tired of service. Service in the real sense of the word is not a joke. One should be extremely careful about making one's service perfectly flawless. But the truth is, God knows our foolishness, and therefore he forgives us.
Well, let's be very mindful of this. We should be as careful as we can and try to be flawless. But if we're not perfect, if it's not flawless, if something happens or if we get unmindful, just exactly what the mother just said. God knows our foolishness, and therefore he forgives us. If we take Krishna seriously, in chapters 5 and 6 of the Gita, all of this is his doing, the foolishness also. It's part of Maya. So don't beat yourself up about it. Just be as careful as you can. I've known many monks and nuns and others who did shrine service. And they all adhered, because of Swami Prabhavananda and Swami Swahananda. They all adhered to that idea that they did the best they can, but if they could, they did the best they could. But if they were remiss in some way, as Swami Swahananda would say, what's done is done. Go forward. So thank you, Haima.
The mother told a woman devotee standing near her to be careful to pick the right kind of flowers to make the sandal paste without leaving any hard particles in it, and not to pick worm-eaten bell leaves for worship. She also cautioned her not to touch any part of her body, her sari, or her hair while working in the shrine. One must work in the shrine room with great attention, she said. Offerings and the rest should be made at the proper time. Next subheading would be happiness.
Let's just stop there, Haima,
Sure.
and see if there are any questions or comments from anyone. There must be a number of people here who regularly do worship. Anything at all that you'd like to contribute from your own experience, or particularly this idea that the master is living in the picture. That picture is not an inanimate object. And the Swamis were very emphatic with us about this, that all of the pictures of the holy ones, they are there within the picture. And you've heard me, some of you, most of you, I think, have heard me read that poem on Pond, Georgia, in which it talks about the fact of an experience of Mother leaving the picture after worship on the day before Mother's Day, leaving the picture and changing her sari, or exchanging her sari for an ordinary house dress. And the next thing that was known was that we were in the kitchen of their Georgia mountain cabin. And Mother was preparing a meal. So this is my own experience of the fact that those pictures are not inanimate. Mother was in the picture, and after the chanting had been done, she left the picture, and as I narrated. So any other comments or questions from anyone about
Brother
Yes.
Shankara, I think,
Yes.
I don't know if I read it in the Divine Play or heard it in a talk, but they say that that is one of the uniqueness of Sri Ramakrishna's avatar is we actually have a photograph, a real, picture, and many devotees that have seen him and their close ones are still alive, whereas most of the other avatars pictures are all mythologized and imaginations. So this picture is more, I don't know if authentic is the right word, but it's not just a mythological imagination.
No, it's not. And you did read it in the Divine Play. Mother herself remarks on it. How fortunate we are to have an actual photograph and his signature as well. We have Sri Ramakrishna's actual signature. There's a copy of it on the shrine here in this little chapel. And Holy Mother remarked how that it was unique for us in the history of these avatars to have an actual photograph, and that the photograph is alive. And as you say, the other pictures of avatars are all, they may, imagination, some of them may be imagined, some of them, of course, are received in vision. Swami Tadatmananda, if you look up his work, you can find it online. Swami Tadatmananda was an American monk. He had been working as an advertising illustrator in Chicago. I forget the narrative of how he was drawn to Swami Prabhavananda, but he was. And, from Chicago to come to the West is a little unusual. It probably had to do with the book. But in any event, he was a very successful advertising illustrator. He left that life and became a monk and became the head of the Trabuco monastery monks for quite some time. Over the years, he developed the ability to have visions of the beings that he was painting. So if you see his painting, which you can find, I think there's a website, just simply website tadatmananda. Something or other. If you see his painting of Sri Krishna offering his instruction to Arjuna that became Bhagavad Gita, you'll see that those two painted there are extraordinarily lifelike. And this was known of, and he explained, though not to me personally, but it was related to me, how he explained the process that he went through to create those paintings. And it was, he would have visions of the beings. And so I invite you, Tadatmananda, T-A-D-A-T, Tadat, M-A-N-A-N-D-A, Tadatmananda. I invite you to look up his work and see for yourself. We have several of his paintings here in the center. So copies, of course, not originals. And you can buy copies of his paintings from that site that I talked about. Anything else from anyone? All right, please go on, Harma.
Happiness and misery. Next this is the subheading. On 25th September 1910, Arupananda asked Holy Mother an important question. Mother, if there exists a being called God, why is there so much suffering and misery in the world? Does he not see it? Has he not the power to remove it? Mother replied with this story. Creation itself is full of misery and happiness. Could anyone appreciate happiness if misery did not exist? Besides, how is it possible for all persons to be happy? Sita once said to Rama, why don't you remove the suffering and unhappiness of all your subjects? Please make all the inhabitants of your kingdom happy. By your mere will, you can easily do it. Rama said, is it possible for all persons to be happy at the same time? Why not? Asked Sita. Please supply from the royal treasury the means of satisfying everyone's wants. All right, said Rama. Your will shall be carried out. Rama sent for Lakshmana and said to him, go and notify everyone in my empire that everyone may take whatever he wants from the royal treasury. At this, the subjects of Rama came to the palace and told him what they wanted. The royal treasury began to flow without stint. When everyone was spending his days joyously, through the maya of Rama, the roof of the building in which Rama and Sita lived started to leak. Workmen were sent for to repair the building. But where were workmen to be had? There was not a laborer in the kingdom. With the absence of masons, carpenters, and artisans, all buildings fell into despair.
Disrepair.
Disrepair, exactly, sorry. Fell into disrepair and work was at a standstill. Rama's subjects informed the king of their difficulties. Finding no other help, Sita said to Rama, it's no longer possible to bear the discomfort of the leaking roof. Please arrange things as they were before. Then everyone will be able to procure workmen. Now I realize that it is not possible for all persons to be happy at the same time. How beautiful. Let it be so, said Rama. Instantaneously, all things were as before, and workmen could once more be engaged. Sita said to Rama, Lord, this creation is your wonderful sport. No one will suffer at all times. No one will spend all his days on this earth in suffering. Every action brings its own result, and one gets one opportunities accordingly. Happiness and misery are part of human life. There is no one in this world who is always happy or always miserable. The secret of happiness is renunciation.
Let's stop there.
Yes.
Any comments or questions about this story or about the solution that is presented at the end? The secret of happiness is renunciation. So any comments or questions from your own wisdom, from your own experience, or any concerns you'd like to raise or questions you'd like to ask?
I don't think that there's any doubt that happiness lies in renunciation, because even personally, even giving up some of the little things that I used to be attached to when I was younger has brought a certain sense of relief. But to get to that complete renunciation is a challenge that we have to undertake.
And Sri Ramakrishna says to pray for it, to ask for it, to pray to be guileless and liberal-minded, and have the yearning to be, in other words, not to make it a negotiation. I'll renounce this if I can have that. That's what's meant by guileless. And liberal-minded means that you don't judge others, you don't think ill of even of yourself, but you work on creating by prayer that yearning in yourself. You ask for that yearning to be free of limitation, all attachments, everything that we might want to renounce is a limitation. And so we ask to be free of limitation and to have the yearning for freedom that will allow us to make that a way of life. Thank you, Swayam. Anything else from anyone?
I have something, Brother Shankara.
Yes, please.
I grew up all my childhood in India with my parents. My parents always said, if we don't have any misery, we forget God completely. We become too arrogant that we think that we are in control of everything. We are not. That's what I grew up with, that idea, which is very true. Unless we have some difficulties, we really will forget God. It's easily possible. I believe in that, what I was told when I was little, and I grew up with that idea.
Yes, and this is why Holy Mother says elsewhere in this book that we are to look on suffering as a blessing, because it helps us to refocus our attention on the reality rather than the illusory being defined as that which comes and goes. Happiness and misery comes and goes. Freedom from limitation and genuine bliss and love, the things that we speak of in Satchidananda, as Satchidananda, they do not come and go. They remain always. And so this is why Misery and suffering are to be seen as a blessing. And sometimes it's very difficult. There's no two ways about it.
It is.
Particularly physical pain. Even Swami Swahananda said, whatever, my teacher that sent me here, Swami Swahananda, said, whatever you do, do not let me be in physical pain, because it makes you forget everything. And so he said, even if you have to give me those kind of drugs that make me somewhat dopey, do that rather than let me be in pain, because I'll be able to maintain my thoughtfulness even through the dopiness, but not if I'm in pain. And he knew whereof he spoke. So it's very interesting.
Brother Shankara,
Yes, dear.
I feel as if you spoke directly to me, or whoever is inside you spoke directly to me.
Jai Ma. Okay. Thank you, dear.
Sure. Happiness and misery are part of human life. There is no one in this world who is always happy or always miserable. The secret of happiness is renunciation. Holy Mother was the embodiment of renunciation, and she taught it through her life and actions. Sometimes we see a person's greatness in small things. Sarada, one of the mother's attendants, told the following story. In Udbodhan, there was only one broken comb. We all, Holy Mother, Radhu, Maku, and I, used to comb our hair with that one comb. One day, Nalini told the mother, Aunt, you have so many devotees, and they always ask you what you need. Then why don't you ask them for a new comb? The mother replied with a smile, look, we are managing well with this broken comb. Next subheading is Holy Mother at the Circus.
Oh my goodness.
On Christmas Day in 1918, Holy Mother went to see Wilson's Circus in the Maiden, a large park, with her nieces and devotees, a trip that was arranged by her disciple Lalit Chattopadhyay. Karthik, later Swami Nirlepananda, a grandson of Yoginma, recorded his account of the trip. The First World War had just ended, and the English people were celebrating their victory. Moreover, it was Christmas Day. Radhu, Maku, and Nalini wanted to see the circus, and they asked the mother's wealthy devotee, Lalit Babu, to take them to it. Lalit said to them that if they could make the mother agree to go with them, then he would arrange everything. The nieces rushed to their aunt and demanded that she go with them. The mother
you can imagine they actually demanded. You know, these were importunate, difficult young women. So I'm sure they actually demanded.
The mother finally agreed. When Sharat Maharaj heard about it, he cautioned Lalit, since the mother has agreed, I have nothing to say. You are a mature person and not a boy. Please carefully consider the gravity of the situation. Don't be carried away by momentary excitement. Who will be responsible if the mother is hurt? Do you dare to take Holy Mother on an outing on this crowded festival day? Lalit replied, Maharaj, the mother does not go anywhere without your permission. Please give me permission and I will take the responsibility. Be assured that I will look after the mother's comfort with all my might. I am taking the entire risk upon my shoulders. Dr. Kanjilal's car was always available for the mother, but she was reluctant to go by motor car. So Lalit hired 4 horse carriages. The circus was held in the southern part of the Maiden near Victoria Memorial Hall. Lalit bought expensive tickets for the mother and her companions. The mother was pleased to go to the circus. It was a cold winter day. The Maiden was very crowded and festive. Music was playing and the whole place was flooded with light. When the circus was over that evening, the large crowd was jostling to leave the Maiden. Lalit was running around attempting to get a horse carriage, but he failed. The mother was calmly standing in the open Maiden on that cold evening. The distance from the circus tent to Dharmatala Junction was nearly half an hour's walk. It was hard for the mother to walk such a distance as she had rheumatic pain. But without any complaint, the veiled mother slowly limped all the way, holding the hand of Golapma, her bodyguard. The mother was a little afraid that Sharath, her loving caretaker, would be angry at Lalit. As I used to sleep at night in Sharath Maharaj's room, the mother said to me, "You see, my son, Lalit was not at fault. He was helpless. He tried his utmost, but could not get a single carriage. What could he do? Please explain the whole situation to Sharath nicely, so that Lalit will not get scolded." What sympathy, compassion, and love the mother had for her heroic devotee Lalit. Finally, she got into a carriage, and we all returned to Udbodhan house. Sharath Maharaj was anxiously awaiting the mother's return. He was smoking a hubble bubble and was deeply concerned about the mother's safety. As soon as we arrived at Udbodhan house, a devotee cross-examined me in front of Sharath Maharaj. When I told the whole story about the mother being inconvenienced, Sharath Maharaj could not bear it. He roared like a tiger and reprimanded Lalit right and left, saying, "You are a fool." Embarrassed, Lalit kept his head down. The mother did not go to Sharath Maharaj's room. When Lalit came upstairs, the mother caressed his head and back, blessed him profusely, so that his feelings might not be hurt. At last she said to him, "My son, Sharath said the right thing. Henceforth, do everything after considering the pros and cons." The mother was an embodiment of compassion.
What a story.
Beautiful story, yes.
And you can imagine that with her rheumatic legs and knees, that half-mile walk was painful for her. As she said, even when the divine beings take human form, and she was speaking of the Master and herself, they suffer all the liabilities of our stardust spacesuit. She got those rheumatic knees and rheumatic legs from sleeping on a cold stone floor, sometimes a damp floor, at the Nahabat at Dakshineshwar. And she admitted later that it was sometimes very uncomfortable, and that's what caused the rheumatism in her legs. She suffered with it for the rest of her life. So our compassion is called for. The mother being who she is, what can we say? All right, dear, please go ahead.
Sarada, later Bharati Prana, recalled some details of the trip to the circus. We walked to the circus in Maidan till 9 o'clock. The mother was as jubilant as a girl as she watched the various performances. It was quite late at night, so a horse carriage was not available. Lalit Babu brought a taxi, but the mother refused to ride. Once, when she had ridden in a taxi, a dog was run over. From then on, she stopped riding in taxis. Lalit Babu begged her, saying, "Mother, I'm not finding any horse carriage here. Please get in the taxi, and the driver will drive very slowly." But the mother said, "No, try again. You will find a carriage." Lalit Babu went quite a distance and fortunately got a phaeton. Is that right, Brother Shankara?
Phaeton.
Phaeton. We returned late to Udbodhan house in that carriage.
Now, phaeton is a very big carriage.
It's a big
You
carriage.
know, it could carry the whole party. Remember, they came in 4 carriages, which were probably, 2-person carriages, and went home in a phaeton. When automobiles began to be built, the largest cars that would hold, 8 or 10 people were called phaetons.
Thank you. Lalit, a heroic devotee. That's the side heading we're moving on to. Swami Nirlepananda told a wonderful story of Holy Mother's love for her devotee Lalit. Previously, Lalit used to drink and lead a wanton life, but by the grace of the mother, his life was changed. He and his wife Dasi had lost several children and were nearly mad with grief. After taking refuge in the mother, Lalit built a charitable dispensary at Jairambati.
Mm-hmm.
He made every effort to make the mother's life comfortable, both in Jairambati and Calcutta. One day he said proudly to Nirlepananda, long before the Udbodhan house was built, the mother came to the house I rented in Shankaritola. I had an oil painting made of the mother, and I asked her to worship her own picture in my shrine with flowers and sandal paste. She did, and then she initiated me.
What a lovely story.
Yeah. One day, Lalit invited Radhu's husband, Manmatha, and Karthik, who was then a college student, for lunch. Lalit's wife was extremely shy and avoided men she did not know. When the 2 young men knocked at the door, she did not open it. Manmatha was headstrong and he felt humiliated because Lalit would not receive him. He returned to Udbodhan house with Karthik. When Lalit returned home, his wife told him what had happened, and he immediately rushed to Udbodhan house and complained to the mother. "Mother, you should scold these 2 young boys. I just went to buy some sweets from the market. You know your daughter-in-law's bashful nature. They did not even wait a little, though I returned soon." Lalit felt terrible, thinking that he had humiliated his guru's relative. He burst into tears. The mother consoled him, saying, "My son, I shall send them to your house right now, and they will eat there. Don't worry. You go home and make things ready. What trouble inviting these boys?" The mother did not say anything to Manmada, but privately called Karthik to the northern balcony and scolded him, saying, "You are a college student and you have this kind of intelligence? Why did you not wait till Lalit's return? It is Sunday and there was no hurry. Manmada is headstrong and foolish. I can't say anything to him." She then called Sharat Maharaj and said, "My son, you take these two boys, go to Lalit's home and have lunch there. Please calm down, Lalit." Sharat Maharaj obeyed the mother's order. Overwhelmed with joy, Lalit remarked, "Am I an ordinary devotee? Look, the mother is holding my hand."
Ah, me. What a sweet way to see it.
Lalit had a large mustache like the German emperor.
Does everyone know what that means? It means a great, huge mustache with big sideburns and so on.
Kaiser Wilhelm II.
The second.
Let me read that second. Lalit had a large mustache like the German emperor, Kaiser Wilhelm II. So Swami Brahmananda called him Kaiser.
Huh?
The monks and devotees called him Kaiser Chatterjee. The next side heading is the story of Swami Purnananda. We still have 10 minutes time, Brother Shankara.
Okay, very good.
Swami Purnananda went to medical school, but he later took initiation from Swami Brahmananda and became a monk. He lived in Udbodhan house when the mother was there. To control his restless mind and improve his patience, Brahmananda told Purnananda, "You must repeat your mantra 10,000 times every evening. Count them. If you make a mistake in counting, start over. Otherwise, an ogress will swallow the results of your japa."
Ah,
What is ogress, Brother Shankara?
an ogress is a kind of
Ogress.
demoness.
I
There are ogres, a kind of a demon. They're said to live under bridges
see.
and grab people as they go by. There are many stories of ogres and ogresses. An ogress is a fearsome female demon.
Demon. Okay. Thank you. According to his guru's instruction, Purnananda steadily began to repeat the mantra with deep concentration. Some days when he lost count, he had to start again. When the supper bell was rung during his japa, he did not go to the dining room with the other monks. This created a problem in the household because someone needed to wait with his food till late at night. One day, the mother asked him, "My son, why are you so late for supper?" Touched by the mother's affectionate words, Purnananda burst into tears. He told her what Swami Brahmananda had said to him. When she heard this, she laughed loudly and said, "Rakal said that an ogress would swallow the result of your japa. Look, my son, you are young and your mind is restless. So Rakal gave you that instruction to make your mind calm and one point. I assure you that you will not have to be afraid of finishing your japa. When the bell is rung, please come and eat your supper. Later, you can complete your japa at your convenience." Thus, the mother's assurance freed him from anxiety. And from then on, Purnananda ate supper regularly with the monks.
Notice that the mother had no difficulty at all, no hesitancy at all at saying that Brahmananda was a little excessive in his instruction. That was the implication she was giving. So, everybody knew who Mother was. Brahmananda, it was said of him, someone said to the mother one time, "Mother, all the boys come to see you." And that means the monks, the direct disciples of the master. "All the boys come to see you, but Rakal Maharaj never comes." And the mother just laughed and said, "Oh, whenever I wish to see Rakal, he appears before me." So this was the kind of relationship they had. And one time, she was instructing a devotee to buy new cloths for the monks, new wraps. And she instructed, to get so many cotton ones. And as the devotee was going out the door, she said, "Oh, and get one silk cloth for Rakal." And the devotee said, "Mother, you say these are all your sons. Are they not all your sons?" And Mother said, "Yes, they are all my sons, but Rakal is my son." So there was something very special about the relationship between Mother and Rakal. The fact that he was president of the Ramakrishna order for so many years. He lived just 2 years longer than the mother. Mother left the body in 1920. Rakal Maharaj, Raja Maharaj as he's known, she called him Rakal. She called all the boys by their birth names. Raja Maharaj left the body in 1922. And for those of you who don't know that story, I won't tell it now, but it's worth you finding that story of Rakal Maharaj leaving the body. He was Swami Prabhavananda, who was his disciple, wrote a book about him, the title of which is The Eternal Companion, that he is the eternal companion of the divine being who incarnates. And so he has been with each of the incarnations.
I suppose.
See what you?
I was saying, I suppose we would never know why Swami Brahmananda gave that sort of instruction, but it's almost funny, but.
Because Mother said it, because he wanted to make the boy's mind calm and one-pointed. And that is, it's a lot of japa for a householder, but it's not a lot of japa for a monk. But Purnananda took it to mean that he shouldn't do it without interruption. And that's what the mother said to him. "Oh, you can interrupt it. Doesn't matter. And go take your supper and with the other boys." Rakal Swami Brahmananda, as president of the order, he was very soft by nature, very loving, but he could also be quite strict when he saw the necessity. So be it. Yes, dear.
We don't have much time, and it's almost 7 o'clock, 1 minute left.
Yeah.
So I'll stop here.
Yes, exactly.
It's okay? Thank you, Brother Shankara.
That's where we'll pick it up next week.
Okay, thank you so much.
And for those of you who don't come to the Wednesday night class. Let me wish you a happy Thanksgiving and a joyous start to our season of of course, the holy days have been going on for some time, but here in America, it's kind of recognized that the holy days start with Thanksgiving. So may the rest of your holy days and your Thanksgiving be joyous and uplifting. May you have a wonderful Thanksgiving with whoever you gather with. And I hope it's very fulfilling for you and that there is a genuine feeling of thanksgiving for life itself, for the feast, and for the company that you keep, which will be the right company for you at that moment. We'll just leave it at that. Om Hari Om. Om Asatoma Satkamaya. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Abhir Moiti. O dearly beloved Lord, lead us from this realm of noisy confusion and delusion to thine abode of serenity, silence, and understanding. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through. Light us through and through with thy everlasting shining presence. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga Durga Durga. May we be safe. May we be healthy. May we be cheerful. May we have peace of mind. And may we go forward in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father. Any final thoughts from anyone?
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
There is a beautiful poem coming up in our Love Poems from God, where St. John of the Cross talks about comparing the lessons we have in life to a chess master teaching.
Yes.
That's a beautiful.
Isn't that a gorgeous poem?
It is.
Yes. How would the chess master arrange the pieces? It gives us another understanding of suffering.
Right.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to offer?
I have a great quote, Brother Shankara, about
Yes.
thanks. It says, thankfulness is the beginning of gratitude. Gratitude is the completion of thankfulness. Thankfulness may consist merely of words. Gratitude is shown in acts, by Henry Frederick Amiel. I bet you know that philosopher, probably.
Say his name again.
His name is Henry Frederick Amiel, A-M-I-E-L.
Actually, I do not. I don't know that person at all.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful quote.
It's a beautiful quote. I was reading somewhere, then I thought I better write it down.
Send it to me in an email if you would. I'll add it to that giving thanks talk.
Okay,
Because
sure, I will send it to you.
And definitely. I'll look up to see if I can find the context from which it comes.
Oh, yeah, he's on the website, his name and his background, everything. I can send it to you.
Please
okay,
do.
I will. Sure, Brother Shankara. Thank you so much for the evening.
Oh, yes.
Thanks, everybody, for letting me.
This is our holy company, you see. Yes. We are the holy company that we keep. Holy company is not something that's over there or some other time. This is our holy company. So we're keeping holy company as we study the art of spirituality together. It is so uplifting and ennobling. And for it, I am very, very grateful. Thank you. I am grateful for your holy company. So until next time, of course, we have our Jnana Yoga class tomorrow night, but many of you will be busy with Thanksgiving preparations, no doubt. So we may not have a quorum for tomorrow evening's gathering. We'll see.
I'll be here. Thank you. Bye.
Until next time, dears. Good night.
It's nice to have your holy company.
And yours too, Triguna.
It gives peace.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.
Studying her life on Tuesdays is one of the great joys of our gathering together each week. Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Swam, don't forget to call me, please.
She has left probably.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.